I'm Angela Kelly Robeck, host of the Empowered Principal Podcast, a part of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you're listening to now. Shows on the network are individually owned and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another great episode of My EdTech Life. Thank you so much for joining us on this beautiful Saturday. Wherever in the world it is that you may be, I hope that your Saturday morning is wonderful. If it's evening, I hope that you're having a great evening. Or maybe if it's Sunday, I hope you're having a great start to your day. But anywhere in the world that you're joining us from, thank you so much for making My EdTech Life what it is today. As you know, our mission, our vision, and our passion is to connect educators one show at a time, and of course, to continue to move the education needle forward and improving the education landscape. But today, I am so excited because we have a wonderful guest, and he is amazing. He definitely brings a lot of energy. We recently shared the Wakelet Community Week, not together, but on separate, presentations, and he definitely brought the heat, as well as, he's doing some terrific work with math. He's doing some terrific work with EdTech integration. And I just absolutely love his demeanor, his attitude, and his passion. So I'm really excited to bring you today here live, Mr. Alex Isaacs. Alex, how are you doing this morning?
Well, what could be better than this, spending my Saturday morning talking EdTech with someone who I really look up to. I'm so happy to be here. My first day of summer break. So I had a wonderful, memorable year at Red Bank Middle School in Red Bank, New Jersey, as I'm a 8th grade math teacher. And, this is just I've been saying this a lot recently, but just another dream come true where I'm a part of such a great program, a great podcast, and I'm just excited for the conversation today.
I'm really excited for this great conversation. And of course, we're going to get into it. Really the topic is, I'm just curious because I see your passion and I see what you do, as well as other educators, and really fostering just a great community through the use of EdTech, and, how you implement that into your classroom, and especially with math, which is something that sometimes, and what I've seen, at least in my area, that a lot of math teachers are a little bit reluctant to implement some, just ed tech platforms into their courses. So I'm just curious to know a little bit more of how you're able to do that. But before we do that, as always, Alex, you've seen the show. Everybody that I bring on to me is somebody that I look up to, somebody that's doing some great, stuff in their practice. And for me, it's almost like they're a superhero, and I love to hear that origin story. So, Alex, if you can share with us just a little bit of background as far as your road into education. Was it something that you always wanted to do, or was this something that was a pivot at some point within your thought process of careers?
Well, thank you again for the introduction, all your kind words. I really appreciate it. For me, my real first time working with children, working with kids was when I was really just a kid. I was in high school. I went to a Catholic high school, Christian Brothers Academy, where part of our, yearly commitment to being, faithful, good young individuals was to provide volunteer service, multiple hours. And I got involved with something called the Challengers Program, where I worked with students with special needs to play baseball and basketball. And it just had such an impact on me, seeing those kids smile when I was around them. I felt like I was really able to connect with many of them in a short amount of time. And it just really felt good to be able to give back in that way, because it was always something very near and dear to my heart, where I feel like if you can provide care to those individuals and make them feel good, that's about as good as it gets in this world. So, that happened to me in my early teens. And then I have a very successful father, David Isaacs, who worked his way up on Wall Street, and he was a businessman. And I saw the success that he accomplished. And I said, you know what, that's what I want to do. I want to make that money. I want to be a powerful guy. And, I then kind of pivoted towards working towards accounting, and I got an accounting bachelor's degree, where I wasn't really passionate about it. I went through the motions, I would say, so to speak, in college, got great grades, did very well, graduated with honors and felt good about that. But at the conclusion of my undergrad degree, I kind of got blindsided by my mother having a health issue, taking a turn for the worse, where she got incredibly sick, and it got to the point where she was in home care, and it basically just became where she and I would have these very long, deep conversations. And I think more than anything, my mother saw my ability to connect with kids, my ability to form good relationship with kids. And, one of her final things that she told me was, she said, you should be a teacher, go back, get your master's degree, be a teacher and make an impact and be around kids. And I think back to why she kind of told me that. I don't know if she saw me as a businessman like my father, but, she told me that. I loved my mother very much. I love my mother very much, even though she did unfortunately pass away. And I try to honor her by following through on that. I got my master's degree in education from Monmouth University in New Jersey, nearby where I live. And since then, it's just been me trying to have a great impact on kids and be a person that they can look up to and a person that will listen to them. And so it definitely, I had the seeds planted very early on in my life. And then it kind of took a couple twists and turns to the point where I really finally realized in my 20s that this is what I want to do. And this is the kind of thing, this is the kind of impact that I want to have on children and the community at large.
That is great. Thank you so much for sharing that and really getting personal. It seems interesting how you and I have a very parallel road, and even talking, pre-show, just the same thing with me. My dad became ill, and I just needed that time, or a job that would afford me more time, and especially being an only child, to care, for my parents, be there readily available, and we went into teaching, and here we are today. And so I'm really excited because, again, you're getting a lot of love here. We've got John Woodward, who's joining us from Temple ISD. We've got Lois also, who's joining, and we've got Amy. They're just showing a lot of love here, and I'm really excited. Thank you so much for joining us this morning as we get to chat with Alex. So Alex, now that you decided to make that transition into education, just describe a little bit about at least how your first day, maybe, okay, we'll go with first day and first year experience went, and how maybe some of those business elements that you learned were very useful to you, to implement into your classroom to create, community or engagement.
Well, I look back on my first year now saying, I wish I knew what I know now. And I think we can all say that as teachers. I wish I could go back to that first year and be as competent as I am now with tech. I wish I could have made my lessons a little bit more engaging, a little bit more fun. Now, I do feel like I had a lot of fun with my first year group of students, where I taught sixth grade science and fifth and sixth grade math. It was a whirlwind of a year. There was a lot of tumult at the school that I was at. There was a lot of infighting. It was really quite insane. But in the end, I kept in mind my main goal throughout that year was, I'm going to form connections with these kids and I'm going to show them that I care very much about them. We had a hurricane go through here, Hurricane Sandy, where even years later, this town that I worked in was still being impacted by that storm. It was a lot of people were working as, clammers, fishermen, things along those lines. They had businesses that were down near the shore. And the entire community was basically just flooded and ruined beyond, all repair, where places were abandoned, things along those lines. So I knew these kids were struggling, and a lot of them were having a tough time. So for me, I said to myself, this first year is going to be about making relationships and really seeing what I can do in my first full-time position. And what I really just tried to do was take off of their plate the things that I felt were taking time away from meaningful learning. So for me, I was kind of teaching middle school math. It went up to sixth grade at this school. So I deemed that almost to be like an elementary school, but I was teaching middle school math in a 40-minute block. So, the note taking, all those kinds of things, I felt like that was kind of taking away from the learning. So what I decided to do then was just really implement what I thought was great tech at the time, which was making Microsoft Word note slides, notes pages, where at least they had those guided notes for them. It provided them that level of support. I actually did kind of get involved with doing some QR codes that year, that was my level of innovation at the time, where I was providing either video or audio to them with QR codes. And I got such great feedback from the parents saying, we hadn't seen this done before, and we really enjoyed how you implemented this. And I formed some great bonds with those kids. And it just was a whirlwind. But I made some great relationships with people that I'm still close to, even though I'm no longer at that school. And it just helped me grow so much as an educator, because it was almost like the line in New York: if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. And since then, I've been lucky enough to be at two different schools where it's just been very harmonious and supportive. And I just look back on that first year of saying, I wish I would have known a little bit more, but I'm very proud of how I did take risks. And I just remember doing a daily class dojo message, and the parents there loved it. There were no misconceptions about what was due. Students knew exactly what was due, as did the parents. Everybody was on the same page. They said, "We love this. We would love to see all the teachers do this." So, those were my little tips and tricks that first year that kind of helped me survive. And I couldn't be more proud of the kids that I taught over there in Highlands, New Jersey.
That's wonderful, Alex. And again, a similar parallel. I came in also. I started off high school math, and then went fifth and sixth grade math and science. So again, it's kind of interesting there. A couple of things that I want to highlight. And I love what you said. And I think, to me, this is once I made that transition kind of from high school into elementary. High school, I mean, I had my students for 90 minutes, and it was only for half a semester because of the block scheduling. So, I mean, it was just constant rotation of students. But when I moved into elementary, I had my kiddos all year long. And so I think that's where I really honed in a lot more of those skills that I learned. But one thing that I did learn that I love that you mentioned is knowing your students and seeing what you can take off of their plate. And we all know that students, they have lives outside of school, and sometimes we don't know what may be going on outside of school, but we might have gotten a glimpse of that during pandemic as students are learning from home. And now us as teachers, we're guests in their home during these lessons. And, a lot of them may have not or may not have the best environment outside. So I love that you take that into account, that as a student comes in, you kind of feel them out, building that relationship and see what you can take off of their plate. And the other thing that I love that you mentioned is the risk taking. I think that is something that is wonderful, and it's so important for teachers to have an environment, that psychological safety, that environment where they can go ahead and take a risk. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it's okay. Let's go ahead and just fix that, improvise, adapt, overcome, but in a way where it's not going to be punitive, in a way where you're being innovative, you're pushing the envelope to help the students and engage the students. So those are some two things that I really want to highlight. So talk to me a little bit about that, as far as your student relationships, taking some things off those plates, if you don't mind giving us some examples.
Well, I mean, the examples are so much more prevalent over the last 2.5 years or so. As well as anybody else what these kids have experienced, the isolation, the sometimes having to just be completely alone for a day, hours on end, where your parent or guardian is going to work. And it's something that, I was teaching at a Catholic school as a STEM teacher, and an amazing year. I mean, my 2 years at St. Benedict Catholic School, I've never formed relationships with students like that. I mean, I think part of the reason was I was the only male teacher in the entire school. It was myself and the principal. We were the only male, real teacher, administrator in the entire school. So I think that, me knowing about the video games that they were into, it just allowed me to springboard into really delving and getting to know them, what they were interested in, and then kind of tailoring my activities based on that. But when everything changed on March 13th, for me personally, where we all just said, all right, we're going home, and we're not going to see each other anymore, I was not required to teach live. The specials classes were not required to teach live at my school. We were being asked to create activities for our students that were basically optional. If they wanted to take part, and they could. If they didn't, that's okay. We wanted to focus on the core subject. So the first video I sent to them the night of all of us going home was, guys, I know that this is going to be a completely crazy time in education, but we're all in this together. And I encourage each and every one of you to benefit in one way at the end of this time. Take something away from this. Give yourself one measurable and attainable SMART goal that you could take away from this and that you can really build on. And for me, I said to myself, I am going to take on the challenge of creating engaging content and being like I'm in my kids' homes, live and direct, even though I might not be. So, I took it upon myself to create an episodic video series, Adventures in At Home Learning with Mr. Isaacs and Mr. Bear. And the only reason why I did that was for the fun of the kids. And I had some of the most meaningful emails that I've ever received were parents saying to me, "You made it feel like it was normal for a little while. You made my kids laugh again." And I was teaching kids from first to eighth grade. So I'm thinking to myself, how do I create something that keeps in mind what they're into, but also at the same time take off of their plate all of the emotion and the inundation of information that was coming at them and the completely different environment that they were in. So I just tried to give them that overall sense of normalcy coming back. And I did that through my humor. I did that through care. I did that through, creating virtual classrooms for the first time with my Bitmoji, including audio and really authentic, fun activities involving Minecraft and Tinkercad and Roblox, getting into that gamification. And a lot of people, the pandemic and COVID, it hurt them. Their talents weren't able to be on display. For whatever it's worth, it allowed me to shine. It allowed the true educator in me to shine, and it allowed me to make a difference in my kids' lives more effectively. And while it took time away from me and my partner, who is Lois Alston, watching right now, she's my partner for life, and she's the best and amazing ed tech specialist as well. It allowed me to grow at a very rapid rate because I didn't have to teach live, but I was learning how to use all these different tools in my spare time. So I started with Seesaw and Formative and iMovie, and all it allowed me to do was make kids' lives a little bit more palatable, a little bit better. And again, take that off of their plate, that pain, that strange feeling. And also at the same time, take off of their plate having to just do rote work, giving them those opportunities to be creative. And despite those activities being optional, I had hundreds of submissions each week, utilizing Flipgrid, utilizing, Google Slides, Minecraft again, Tinkercad. The parents were loving it. I was loving it. The kids were enjoying it. And it was a thrill for me because it really helped me grow as an educator. And now I'm taking those things and implementing it back in a math class for the first time. And I couldn't be more happy with that.
That sounds so great. Everything that you did. I mean, just hearing you, I got excited, and I'm not even gonna lie, like it really hit, in a different way because, just the passion that you were sharing and it's just coming through and what you were willing to go out and do, taking those risks, like you said, maybe not knowing a platform very well yet, but then you jumped right in. And more than anything, because you had that end goal in mind to make, to make something for the students, to help them, to bring a smile to their face, to get them excited amongst, during this time, that of uncertainty and all this time that was happening. So thank you so much. I really want to say thank you for, doing everything that you did and going above and beyond and creating this because, sometimes we may think that what we may do is something small, but for me, seeing and hearing it from you, this is something big for students because I've worked with students that have needed that kind of level of engagement, that needed that joy, that needed that happiness, and for you to be able to bring that to them in that situation, that's something that's great and memorable, valuable, and you created a learning experience for them that is going to be memorable. That it's not rote memorization, like we talked about rote work, but it's something that is going to become part of them that as they continue to move through the years, those skills that they gained, although they saw it as just having fun, but those skills are going to be easily transferable through the following grades. And more than anything, they're always going to have that memory of what you did about going above and beyond. So thank you so much. And along those lines, too, all the risk that you took, like we just talked about, you didn't know many platforms, but you jumped right in. So let me ask you, as far as the risk taking is concerned, and using or selecting certain ed tech to use, what is your thought process on that? Because we may have a lot of teachers out there at this current time that are still, you know overwhelmed with so much that is out there. How did you pick and choose what was best for you and what was best for your students?
Well, I think first and foremost, the thing that I keep in mind is, will my kids like this? Because I think that if you're throwing a platform at them that they're not enjoying, it's going to be more of a challenge to get them to really have buy-in, and really want to contribute some great responses. So the first thing that I'm always keeping in mind with regard to a platform or a tool is this something that the kids will enjoy? Is it enhancing my instruction? I think that, the big trend right now, I believe, is gamification. I'm a huge fan of BlueKit and GimKit. Those are two of my staples that I use in class, but we also need to keep in mind is the engagement contributing to retention, memorable moments? Because if it's not, and kids are just clicking around and, okay, I'm playing Fishtopia and I'm going to go get an epic fish for $100 right now and I'm going to win this game, then we're starting to lose sight of what the end goal is. And I'm always trying to name my objective, work my way backwards, get to that end goal. So for me, is it relevant? Is it enjoyable for the kids? Is it something that increases accessibility? At my school, I have a lot of L's. I've worked at a variety of schools with diverse learners, diverse sets of needs, especially after these last 2 years where, there's a wide array of skills, needs, et cetera, where I want something that will be either translated into my students' native language with one click. And that's why I've absolutely fallen in love with Moat. They're adding that in. And something that's also going to be a platform or a tool that parents are really enjoying, that they're going to have a strong buy-in with. Because again, for me, it's about everybody kind of being on the same page. I'm always very transparent of my expectations, what is due, when is it due, providing modeling in video screencasts or audio instructions where, I feel like, okay, I'm providing all this to a student, but what this is going to allow is, regardless of what's going on in their household, as long as they have a cell phone or something along those lines, some piece that they can connect to a video, they're going to be in pretty good shape. They're going to have me with them, because I think that not only does the voice of a teacher who proves that they care about you, can provide that comfort to a child at home where they might be struggling. But I always tell my kids, I said, you're going to have me wherever you go. It's just a matter of what you do with me. It's a matter of, are you going to hear me? Are you going to scan this QR code? Are you going to click play on this message? Are you going to review this Wakelet collection that is filled with all my resources? Or are we going to, decide to just say, I'm just going to kind of wing it here and do the best I can? So, for me, it's just really about promoting tools that allow students to best succeed, that they enjoy, that the parents will hop on board with, and that it's something that you feel would be effective for other teachers, where I could bring it to my team at Red Bank Middle School, and hopefully that they decide to implement it in their class. Because the word that I've kept in mind since having this dream of becoming an ed tech specialist is impact. And I just had the opportunity in a couple of different instances this year to have an impact beyond my classroom, to have an impact school-wide, district-wide. And on Twitter, I've had the opportunity to have kind of an impact worldwide, where, I'm connecting with people in India. Namya Joshi, I'm sure you know her very well.
Right.
It's just been amazing to kind of just keep in mind that end goal for myself now in my professional career is, I want to have an impact. I want people to hear my voice. I want people to, take from me, take my templates, use them, make them their own. And really just, one of the biggest thrills I get is seeing people take one of my Canva or Google Slides templates and remix it. I got to give a shout out to Donna Shees, who did an amazing job with one of my templates, I believe, for around Christmas time. And, as we spoke in the pre-show, coming from an individual who last August had 82 followers and was in relevant obscurity, even though I'm kind of tweeting out the same exact stuff, it's just been so amazing to me to grow my PLN and meet individuals who are stellar at their job, such as yourself, such as people in the chat, Mel, everybody else. It's insane for me. I can't believe it, because I spent so long kind of being in obscurity going, what am I doing wrong? And then I kind of had a switch kind of go for me going, I'm kind of just showing what I can do. How about if I start sharing everything with everybody and show them what they can do? And since that switch has kind of happened with me, which happened at the beginning of this last school year, it's just taken off. And now I almost view my Twitter as like a side hustle, where I am not only trying to grow, but I'm also trying to help others, because I feel like I've developed a very good repertoire for hybrid and remote learning. So I'm just always promoting tech tools that I'm passionate about, and, sharing virtual classrooms that have everything in one place, and, sharing my video techniques with others. And it's just been so fun to be able to build on that and just really, really show what I can do to teachers, students, and administrators alike, and of course, ed tech specialists.
That's great. And, and that's something that I have seen. I've seen you grow and, and you're right. I've seen you, the amazing work that you've done. Like when you said when you had few followers, I still knew who you were because we were connected some way, shape, or form, either through mail or, one of the global GEGs. And during that time, and now to see what you're doing has just been something that is amazing. And I love what you said. It's just simply just going out there, putting it out there, sharing it and just overcoming that imposter syndrome because I think a lot of times teachers they're doing some great things but they always feel like, oh no, well, this isn't as good as a, or this isn't as good as him, her, them, and so on and so forth. And but it's just a matter of sharing, and like you said, you're putting your heart into this, you're giving it out, you're sharing it, and people are using it. And again, you're not replacing what they're doing, but like what I love to do is I just say like, hey, it's just a little bit of extra seasoning to add to what you already do great. And then you remix that lesson and you serve it up to your kiddos and see, how well it goes. But, I really want to thank you for that work that you do because as oftentimes in education, I think I'm happy that hopefully those silos are we're getting rid of those silos. As brick and mortar, my experience has always been it's like, okay, I know I'm teaching and co-teaching, but the other teacher would always like hide her copies. Like she'd come out from the copy machine and she'd be hiding what she's making a copy of. I'm like, okay,
Boy.
no big deal. It's like we're working in silos. I'm doing my thing with Chromebooks and I'm like, I've got the kids in the hall, they're working with Chromebooks, classroom's always open and everything. And but even then, like, it's like, no, no, you can't see what I'm doing. I was like, okay, but I love what you're doing, and it should be an example to everybody. And there's so many educators here, like Mel, who's here joining us. We've got Lois, we've got Amy also. They're constantly sharing and sharing tips, and that's what it's all about. Sharing means caring, and you just continue to grow and take that awesome sauce that you guys are taking using and doing, and just kind of make it your own, and that's amazing. I had a question here that John Woodward, and I want to go ahead and put this up here. And John says, "I'm curious to what strategies you've used when introducing an EdTech tool or activity that hasn't worked."
Well, I will say, I as much as this is going to hurt me to say this because I'm going to say the platform where it just did not work for this activity. But I kind of have to blame the cook, not the people actually trying to eat this food that I threw at them. So I did create a graphing activity on Seesaw, and I loved it. I thought it was amazing. The thing that I didn't keep in mind it was that while I'm highly skilled at using the line tool and making it look perfectly straight through two dots, that I then took a pen tool and made it the dot 1 point larger in the font size and all these different little intricate things that I said, okay, well, they're going to be able to pick up and run with it. They have experience on Seesaw, the platform. But as I'm watching them do it, I'm realizing it wasn't working. It was not working. It was too arduous to actually just perform, create a graph for a linear function. And as I saw my kids, some of them did a great job, and then they were okay. But then there were others that were just like, this is more of like an imposition than actually helping me learn this. So right there on the spot, I said, all right, guys, if you did this already, great job. I'm very proud of you that you were able to implement and complete this mini activity here, but I'm going to make copies right now. We're going to do a paper and pencil graphing with rulers. And there are certain instances in math where I do kind of break away from the tech, and graphing is one of those instances if I'm not using Desmos at this point. So I said to myself, I got to stop this right now. It's time for me to, as much as I love Seesaw, I'm not going to take it personal. I realize this is not contributing to an environment where the content is becoming memorable. What it was the struggle with the tool. And at that point, I'm saying, no, no, no. I created an activity that was not as meaningful as it should have been. So right there on the spot, for those students who are not as proficient with that line tool, those dots, those everything else that I threw at them, I had copies ran off, and then they were appreciative of that. And then I kind of made that switch when it came to graphing activities to try to really offer that choice. And that's really what there's been two main things that I've taken away from those lessons that don't work. A, provide choice to my students where they get the opportunity to share their voice in a way that they're comfortable and find suitable to them. and B, just really promoting that student work. I've been so in the habit of using Wakelet to promote my student work and show the amazing things that are going on at Red Bank Middle School that those have been the two main things that I'm keeping in mind. But I do not have an ego to the point where maybe a little one, but not to that point where I am saying, no, I created this lesson. You're going to do it. You're not going to get out of this seesaw right now. And I think that my kids are all the more appreciative of that because, I want to know how they feel live and direct. Are you liking how this is going? What don't you like? I run climate surveys at the end of each of my trimesters asking, I literally list each platform with a PNG of it. I go, rated on 1 to 5. Why do you feel that way? And then I'm trying to tailor my instruction based on that. So, I always try to keep their voices, their hearts in mind because I feel like you get stronger by them. And I think that that's what it's all about. If the kids don't like you, I think it's going to be a tough time learning from you. So again, I'll circle back to that relationships first and never making it where, well, I made this, you're going to use it, you're going to do it. I'm very cognizant of on the fly, what's working, what's not. And if it's not working, I'm lucky enough to have co-teachers in the room with me where I'm going to go run and make a copy, or I'm going to, hop them onto IXL or some other platform where it's just a little bit more straightforward as compared to having to create like they are on some of the other platforms.
Great, great. And that's what John said, absolutely wonderful the way you read the room. And that's about, it's that business sense. What I always say, it's like improvise, adapt, and overcome. You're able to read the room. But the fact that you also have that relationship, like you said, we always circle back to that. And I love that relationships before content or connections before content, because that's important. But the fact that they're able to give you feedback and just say, "Hey, Mr. Isaacs, this isn't quite working," and for you to say, "All right, no worries. Let's go ahead and see what else we can do." I think that's very important. And oftentimes, I understand that there are some timelines, and you have to be at a certain point in a curriculum and so on. And sometimes for a teacher, this is the way it's done. This is the way we're always going to do it, and that's it. Well, I mean, you just lost that student. You've lost that engagement because they're not learning the way that they need to learn, and but they're giving you that feedback saying, "Sir, this isn't quite working." And you say, "Well, too bad." No, like I love the fact that you give them that choice. And of course, your climate surveys are wonderful also to be able to check out and see, hey, what's working, what's not. And oftentimes I think that could be a little, for a teacher, it could be like, like, do I really want to know what my students think? But sometimes we have to turn the mirror on ourselves and say, hey, you know what? Let's see what I can do to improve, even if it's just one little bit at a time. So that's something that's important. So I want to jump into math a little bit here because math is one of my things that I love that I, working with. But what are some of the tools that you currently use to make your math courses more engaging? I know that you mentioned Desmos. Are there any other strategies or platforms that you're using currently just to bring that level of engagement just a little bit, and maybe even creativity also, allowing students to create as well and take ownership of their learning? What have been your go-tos recently?
My go-tos pretty much for over a year now that they just keep building and growing and get more amazing is number one, Wakelet. I mean, we were both at Wakelet Community Week. I saw you speak. It was just it's so great to be a part of a platform that not only does so much, keeps improving, but also allows you to do so much as far as showcasing student work. And that's been the main thing. And right in line with Wakelet are the two, for me, top integrations on there, or maybe three, excuse me. So for me, the ones that have become my main go-tos as far as creativity, there are so many, I could be here for hours as far as sharing my tech tools, but I'll try to keep it brief. As far as creativity goes in my math class, I've been using Adobe Express and Canva. Those have been really great tools for me to let my students shine. Really allow, because I have so many artistic students. I have so many students who are into anime and graphics and digital design that I feel like I should have incorporated those two from so much earlier on this year, but I just didn't really know how much you could do with those. So not only were those given students the opportunity to get to that higher level of Bloom's taxonomy and the create levels, but it also just kind of was like a running portfolio where I had them creating and adding new word problems that they were being asked to create. It could involve me falling off the side of a building, which I presented at Wakelet, where I was going to get a soccer ball, and my guy Cesar decided to make me fall off the side of the building. Again, this is the type of relationship I have with them. They know they can have me falling off a building, and I will laugh and still give them a fine grade as long as the content is good. So Canva and Adobe have really been great for the creation side, but for me, in addition to Wakelet, as far as two integrations that have just been amazing on that platform are Moat and Flipgrid. I kind of took a break from Flipgrid. I don't know why. I feel like last year we were mostly virtual. I should have done it. This year we were in person. I still should have done it. I only did it at the end when I was doing my Math Moment movement with my team at Red Bank Middle School. So Flipgrid allowing students to have those AR filters and the different backgrounds. And if a kid wants to just do almost like a podcast type deal, they don't feel
Yeah.
comfortable being on camera, they could do audio only. And then for me, the platform as well, Moat. I mean, for me, with my students, who a lot of parents, family members, they speak Spanish as their native language. The new transcription feature has just been a complete game changer for me, and I'm very cognizant of accessibility. So that platform just allows me to develop not only that level of accessibility, but also that connection. Where I sent a Moat message to my student Carlos yesterday, and I received an email back that was so heartfelt and so poignant. And it's making these memories. It's making these memories for me as a teacher. Last couple of years, it's been a blur, and there's been a lot of. I got to tell you, I remember very little of teaching virtually, and I think that's the case because I wasn't around the kids. I wasn't. Now that I'm back this last year, everything is so memorable. The bonds were able to be stronger. And to know that me just simply going, hey, I'm gonna miss you, man. And I'm so proud of everything you did this year. And when you make it big in soccer, I want you to holler at me. And for him to write back, you have no idea how much that Moat message meant. And it makes my heart sing because I know that some of my kids are struggling. And I've seen it firsthand on a near daily basis that there are some kids that are just having a tough time. So for them to hear my voice instead of me going, sitting here typing an email going, I hope you're hanging in. I hope you're doing okay. To have that connection with them, it's just been a really great tool. And now that I can add my audio motes into Wakelet and really provide explanations or higher accessibility on those, it's just really synthesized to form these very aesthetically pleasing, engaging collections that I feel teachers can take something away from. And my kids are saying, we want to see the Wakelet collection. So, that day when once a kid told me that, I said, okay, PNG of Wakelet right in my virtual classroom. You click on it, you're going to the Math Musings newsletter with my math moment. And it's just been so fun to see that. And those are my main platforms. So Canva, Adobe Express, Flipgrid, Moat, Wakelet, Formative. I'm a big fan of Formative. My kids like the fact that I can click a button and then they're being told if they're right or wrong in real time. But there are so many that I enjoy. Nearpod as well. Nearpod has been an amazing platform for me to really keep uh, tabs on my kids, even in person, and then showing maybe misconceptions to the entire class and really have those collaborative discussions. So I know I listed a lot, but those are all ones that I would say if you're just starting off, and not to mention extra bonus with Wakelet, I feel like that kind of propelled me to develop my PLN. I mean, Amy and James over there, everyone, frankly, everyone who is at that company is always very gracious, very kind, and it helped me build and become more well known. And I always keep them in mind for that. And I've been lucky enough to be able to present on Moat and Amanda Fox's the Canva classroom. That was a great opportunity for me where I got to show how to make a virtual classroom with Canva. So those would be my top tools that I would say, really look into it, especially with Wakelet, where you could throw everything in one place and kids don't have to go clicking around. And the added bonus of having your voice right on there with Moat. I think that those would be the best right there.
Huge. That is a great list. Thank you so much for sharing that, Alex, because those are definitely some great tools to have in the teacher tool belt. Or, of course, like I always say, that's some great seasoning to what you already do great that you can definitely serve up for some definite engagement. So I'm really excited about that. Well, Alex, our time here is kind of winding down, and I've just been very thankful for really just, I am in awe and just have been enjoying just the passion, everything that you've been sharing, how you are with your students, how you are personally, and how this really, really means a lot to you and what you're doing. And I just want to let you know that I am honored to have you here to share that passion, where you can share this to with all our viewers and all our listeners that will either watching live or that'll be catching the show later on, and that they can definitely follow you and just to continue to grow your the PLF, the personal learning family, just to
Yeah.
continue to grow, because that's what it is. It's a family, and I love I love every minute of it, and I thank you so much. But before we go, we definitely need to wind down here with my three favorite questions to ask my guests. So here we go, Alex. Are you ready?
I'm ready to go.
All
Let's
right,
go.
here we go. In the current state of education, what would you say is your current edu kryptonite?
I would say, I had thought about this question a little bit. I really try to keep the ego out of it. I really do. I feel like I am a bit of a perfectionist as far as something, I see that is 1 micrometer off to the left. I can't have that. I have to see that red line on Canva going directly through the middle. I feel like I'm going to really make an effort next year, dependent on my position. I'm going to really make an effort to use what I've already created and stop tweaking so much. I feel like I kind of get wrapped up in this idea of I've got to do more. I've got to innovate. I've got to now make this even better. And I took all of my virtual classrooms from last year and revamped all of them this year. Now I said to myself, I'm not going to do it again this year because I feel like, okay, these are about as good as it's going to get. I don't know what else I could do, but I feel like that whole thinking that everything has to be just in a certain way, I'm realizing more and more by the day that only I am seeing these things. So I have to kind of take a step back and just really focus on, okay, my end goal is getting these kids to understand this content. My end goal is getting these teachers to better understand this tech tool and understand how to use my template. I'm going to really just try to focus on the content first, and then the printing and preening stuff. If I have the time, I'm going to kind of go after that a little bit more. But for me, it's about I'm really going to focus on developing myself and building myself up as an educator, and spending a little less time with the perfectionism and frankly, the amount of certifications that I'm going after. I'm now trying to now pinpoint ones that are most pertinent to what my goals are, the populations that I'm dealing with, the demographics. So those are going to be the two main things that at this point I am weak. I am weak with the amount that I have put in to my resources, my Twitter game, my certifications where, I made an Adobe graphic recently where it's one of my SMART goals this summer was to detach from technology at least 2 days a week. And I'm going to do everything I can to really follow through on that because I feel like I've gotten to the point where it's taken up too much of my time. I want to enjoy my summer with my partner and her kids. I want to go out with friends. And I just want to really have a good time this summer. So I think that those are the main things that I'm going to keep in mind that could be a weakness. I will say this fun fact. This is quite the joke here, but I have a couple of friends who say my EDU kryptonite is my font selection. They say that my fonts are always very all over the place, too many fonts. So I do also have a population out there who know me that say, I think those fonts are a little too wild for this activity. So there's that as well. But I'm going to go with the ones that I share with you. I just wanted to give a little nod to the people who think I do a little too much with fonts.
Nice, nice. Hey, that's all good. All right. Next question, Alex. If you could have a billboard with anything on it, what would it be and why?
Well, I have this. I have this on my Twitter banner. It's keep doing it the best you can. My episodic video series, Adventures in At Home Learning. I chose just the 10 of us. I don't know how many people out there are familiar with that show from the late '80s, but it was basically in the intro song. It was just keep on doing it the best you can, and that was kind of the mantra that I had when I was working as that STEM teacher. Telling the kids at the end, keep in mind, be your best self, be good people, and keep on doing it the best you can. Where I feel like that somewhat long quote, it's applicable to all of us. I mean, what else can we do right now than the best that we can possibly do? I might not do it myself, but I'm always telling other teachers on Twitter and otherwise, give yourself some grace. Are you doing your best? That's the first thing I ask my kids. The first thing I ask, a teacher who might be down at the moment, I go, are you doing your best? Are you doing the best you can at this moment right now? And if a kid is telling me I am, well, I'm going to do my best to take that statement at face value, take it into my heart and say, all right, I believe you. I believe that you're doing your best. What can I do now to support you? If a teacher's telling me, I'm having a tough time, are you doing your best? Yes, I am. Well, how about giving yourself some grace and realizing that we are in extraordinarily difficult, challenging times. And who knows when it's going to end with the mass, exodus that's kind of happening in certain districts, in certain schools, in certain areas of the country. So for me, it would be keep on doing it the best you can. If you are giving your best with whatever level of percent you have inside of yourself for that day, I can't ask for anything else of you. So that would be my mantra to kind of keep in mind, albeit a little bit long and from an '80s sitcom song. That would be my mantra that I think that if people keep that in mind, they can accomplish great things.
Excellent. Great share. Really appreciate that. And the last question, Alex, and maybe soon. I know, I mean, you're definitely growing, you're doing a lot of ed tech and you definitely have a lot to share. So maybe in the near future you may decide to start clicking record and start doing your own podcast. But let's just assume that today this is your show and you have one question that you'd like to ask me. What would it be? And
For me, you've heard my goal of becoming an ed tech specialist. For me, it's just, what would be your best advice? I know that there's a lot of people out there trying to make this transition. I do everything I can to try to separate myself while also providing resources to those same people who are going for these jobs. What would you say would be your best advice for an aspiring ed tech specialist or technology integrationist or tech coach, all the different names we have for them, in order to really try to get that first opportunity to get that foot in the door?
there we go. Okay. So the first thing to do is number one, obviously, you're definitely bringing the heat in the classroom, bringing that passion, that engagement. So you definitely want to provide that same energy and that same level, at the next level, because now you're going to be working with teachers. So the thing is document what you're doing, just like you're doing, sharing as much as you can on social media. Build a nice portfolio with all of your, of course, your badges, your certifications, all of that great stuff. And then when you're ready to interview, make sure that you just go in there and be yourself, what it is that you're doing. Now, again, I also want you to know that having a no is also an acceptable answer. So please do not get discouraged. You're saying, oh, you know what? I'm not good enough for this. You are, but maybe it's not the right environment for you at that time, or it's not the right timing. But again, I just want to encourage every single one of you that wants to move up in this world and be able to support at a greater level and create a bigger impact. You'd be surprised at the impact that you are already doing right now just by sharing on Twitter. And you're already doing a global impact and a state impact and a national impact. So just to be able to have that position too is great because you'll be able to work within your community. So just be yourself, document, share on Twitter, and just keep on bringing that same passion and energy at the district level. And one thing to be aware of too, as well, is that sometimes teachers can be very difficult learners as well. So we're going to definitely have to change our mindset with that too, as well, and our approach. Because I remember when I was in PDs, I was like, oh man, like I'm sitting here and this is what you're teaching me. Sometimes it's like, you got to read the room, you got to understand, improvise, adapt, and overcome, and just be yourself. So that's the best advice that I can give you. And honestly, you're already doing a phenomenal job. So anybody that is watching, anybody that's listening, any districts nearby, you definitely need to check out what Mr. Alex Isaacs is doing right now at this very moment. And there's definitely a lot of growing that he's still going to be doing. So he's definitely going to be bringing some amazing things to your district. So I'm just throwing it out there, Alex. I'm throwing it out there.
Thank you so much. And again, you're somebody that I look up to so much, and so many of your guests that I look up to so much. I mean, I just had such a memorable school year where not only did I do great things at school, but these opportunities that have been, granted to me. It's just such an amazing thrill. And as I told you in the pre-show, a dream come true. And I just can't thank you enough. And I absolutely love the conversation. The almost 50 minutes went very quickly. So I hope that people out there watching, I hope that they could take something away and that it went quickly for them as well.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I definitely took a lot of knowledge nuggets from you today, Alex, and I'm just really excited. And we'll talk a little bit after the show, as I have a little something to a proposition for you. But we'll talk about that after the show. But again, thank you so much for this energy, Alex. Please tell our audience members right now where it is that they can go ahead and follow you.
Well, I'm at Mr. underscore Isaacs underscore math on Twitter and Instagram. I'm mostly on Twitter, providing my resources to everybody. And I would also encourage everybody to check out my Wakelet profile. I think that there's something there for almost everybody, especially math teachers. But there are definitely collections there where if you go to my bio in my Twitter page, my Wakelet homepage is actually linked right there. So I would encourage people to follow me if you're into math or ed tech or different types of tech tool tips. And I plan on really trying to share some new ways that I'm going to hopefully implement tech next year in the classroom with teachers and with students. So follow me on Twitter. I think you'll get a lot out of it. And I'm going to definitely use from now on PLF. I'm going to use that because network sounds kind of cold. So for me, I like friends or family with that PLF. I'm going to be using that from now on. So I'm going to steal that from
There you go. Hey, and that's what it's all about. It's just
you.
all
Yeah.
about family. And that's one thing that I love, that I kind of switched from network, because to me it's like everybody that I learn from is just, hey, you become family. Like I took something from you that you're sharing and I kind of made it my own or sprinkled into what I'm already doing great. I was like, hey, we're family now. So I love it. And I'm just so glad and so thrilled that you and I were able to connect and have this wonderful conversation as I can continue going on and on, because just you definitely have so much to share. But thank you so much again for your time. I really appreciate y'all. And for everybody in the chat, I'm going to mention John, Lois, we've got Mel, we've got Amy that joined us, and all of those that are going to be rewatching or listening to the episode at a later time. Thank you so much, as always, for making My EdTech Life what it is today. Please make sure that you check out our website at myedtech.life, myedtech.life. Check out all our previous guests, amazing episodes, and you'll be able to connect with the guests there, as you will be able to connect with Mr. Isaacs too, because all his information will be on the episode show notes and profile. So check him out. Make sure you follow. Also, please make sure that you drop us a review or send us a message, guys. If there's a guest that is out there or somebody that you'd love to see on the show, or maybe you'd love to be on the show, reach out to me, DM me, send me a message through our website, and I'd love to schedule you to be on the show and just to continue to share any awesome sauce that you're doing and sharing with the world. This is the platform for you. As you heard in the beginning of the show, the mission, the vision, and the passion of My EdTech Life is to connect educators and creators one show at a time, so we can continue to move that education needle forward. Also, guys, please check out our merch. We've got some brand new merch, so I'm really excited. We've got caps, we've got all sorts of shirts, sweaters, and I know summer conference season is here, or just summer lounging is here. So if you want to pick up some threads, pick them up. They definitely help support our show in, of course, paying the bills and keeping the lights on, and of course, keeping the coffee cup full. So that way we can continue to bring some creativity and some amazing guests to y'all. So thank you, as always, for your support. I really appreciate y'all. And we will see you until next Saturday. We won't have any during or midweek shows this coming week. However, I do want to make an announcement on this show is my summer vacation's coming up on June 27th for 3 weeks. So get ready for a My EdTech Live, probably podcast marathon, as we will probably be going live 3 days out of the week for those 3 weeks and just bringing you some amazing guests. So we're lining those up for you. So I'm excited for that. But as always, thank you so much, my friends. I really appreciate y'all. And until next time, don't forget, stay techie, my friends.